are back. It is a S02E08 podcast. It's Jason.
What's up, Justin? Right over here. What's cracking, everybody?
And stepping into the show, the one and only Thomas Ray from Square Barrels. What's up, Thomas?
Ho, ho, ho.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you for jumping on, my man.
It's amazing that we were able to get you in here at this time of day because we're recording the show right around Pauhana, and Square Barrels, luckily, is very busy these days right around Pauhana, right?
It's gotten significantly better in the last week. I will say that we're definitely not busy, but it's good to be able to be a viable business and keep fighting for our business.
Yeah, we caught you on the job.
Yeah,
there you go. For those who don't know, Square Barrels is in downtown Honolulu, and that's again why I'm so excited. Is downtown is kind of a wasteland. It has been lately, but with everything starting to come back just a little bit, Square Barrels is picking up as well. You want to let people know exactly where they can find Square Barrels?
yeah. So it's in Bishop Square, and it's real easy to find. If you're watching this podcast, I'm assuming that you have Instagram. So just visit our Instagram, Square Barrels, and then we have a really awesome button that says parking, and it's no way you can mess it up. You click on that button, and it's a 30-second video on how to get here, but right in the heart of downtown.
Yeah, we was just talking about parking, and then parking is kind of in downtown Honolulu, especially down by the station where we are at. But you told me that
Right.
you guys offer a pretty reasonable rate, and then, right?
It's $2 for 2 hours before 5 o'clock, and then after 5 o'clock, it's $2 for the entire night.
That is a deal for downtown, I say. That is a deal.
Yeah.
And we haven't eaten yet.
Yeah.
No, what we do want to talk about, and we're going to get to it shortly, is the Be Vocal, Support Local movement, which you are a part of and Square Barrels is a part of. But we're also going to talk about the other project that you've got coming on as well. Before we get to those two things, first, I wanted to ask, quarantine. We've been doing this, and I know quarantine is finishing up and people are getting back to the job, and we're just talking about how you're back down at the restaurant. But what was it like for you personally, and being locked up or cooped up at home for so long, not being able to go to work? What was that like for you?
Well, we never shuttered, so I was literally going to work, and I have a day job too. I work for Southern Wine and Spirits in the day. I was unfortunately furloughed about a month ago, but prior to the furlough, I would work at Southern during the day, and then I would go to the restaurant at night. So it was pretty busy for me, a lot of hours, but it was very stressful. All of us at Square Barrels, we each quit 4 or 5 times, but we were always there to lift one another back up because we, this is not an exaggeration, we saw an over 80% loss in revenue. The takeout was very appreciated, but it wasn't really enough to be a viable business. So there was a lot of sacrifices, but we made a commitment to ourselves and the community that we would not shutter, and we would be there, and we would fight for our business and be a part of this community as long as we can.
Now, you guys are open for dine-in customers once again. They can, your guests can come and sit down and have a meal, have a drink, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, correct. So we prefer that they do. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask, how has that experience changed at Square Barrels? Because there's the whole social distancing rules and wearing a mask and the whole 9 yards, and you're just about to talk about it. What's different now that you're able to have dine-in guests again?
It's been amazing to be able to do our jobs and to feed people. A lot of us go into the restaurant business just because we crave social interaction. You know, we're very sociable people, and when that's ripped away from you, there's a hole in your heart. There's a void that needs to get filled, and the administrative side of keeping people segregated is not as difficult as you think. You know, we're able to coordinate reservations. We're able to space out tables. We didn't run our restaurant with tables right on top of each other to begin with. So we were able to effectively ensure a safe dining experience for our customers and still give adequate service as well. It's been good.
Nice. So talk about the whole movement. What got you inspired to reach out and go beyond just what was going on in downtown with your restaurant? Why did you feel the need to get other people involved or get involved with other people?
So rewinding a little bit, like I came to the islands in 2006. I was in the Navy, and in 2007 I started at HPU while I was still in the Navy. And Hawaii's been very, very good to me, and it's given me a lot. And I've always wanted to give back to this community as much as possible. Being a transplant, I always kind of view myself as a guest, you know, and I always want to make sure I'm good to the community. And when we came onto this situation, there were different movements of supporting local restaurants and everything, and they're all fantastic movements. But what I think was missing was a focal point almost, and they were online as well. But kind of like how when you go to a sporting event, like you know, you go to a football game and there's the chant for like "Go Noles" for Florida State, right? Like we needed a rallying cry, and I was just thinking about different concepts of how I could help the community and be vocal, like telling people like about your experience at different restaurants, different coffee shops. It started with restaurants, to be honest, because I'm in the restaurant industry. The dressmaker Valia, sharing your experience with independent local businesses on social media, and then supporting local, like that speaks for itself. Right now we're in a very serious economic crisis that has yet to be realized, because people are still getting additional money on their unemployment. So it's, I think, $648 plus the extra 600. So you're getting $1248 a week in unemployment. That's about to go away. So the Band-Aid that we've had shoring up our economy is just that. It's a Band-Aid, and that's about to be ripped away, and there's still massive hemorrhaging. So we need to support our businesses until we have the return of tourism.
What do you think the local government needs to do more than just you know, open up little here, little there? Is there something that you would like to see happen sooner than later?
Well, with this whole movement, I honestly, and I'm going to answer the question, but I'm not political in any way, shape, or form with this movement. It's really about raising awareness about local businesses and the importance that local businesses bring to our local economy in terms of character and charm to the state of Hawaii and our islands. Because no one comes to Hawaii because we have the best chain restaurants, right? No one goes to New York City because they have the best chain restaurants, or San Francisco, and that's all this is. But to answer your question, what I would like to see happen is clear guidance for a lot of businesses, because it's not just restaurants that are going through these hard times, like wedding planners, photographers. I mean, there's a huge secondary and tertiary set of businesses that rely heavily on tourism, and unfortunately, until those tourists return pre-COVID, it's going to be a very hard road for us to climb together.
That was a very good answer. I mean,
Thank
like
you.
a very
So without being too political.
yeah, he kind of danced that fine line where he's like, I don't want to be bought. This is what I would like
Well,
to see.
yeah, it's. I mean, my restaurant's located a block away from the Capitol, and I want to be active in our community and this movement, but I don't want to disparage any politicians. And this is a situation that none of us were ready for. Me as a business owner, I've made tremendous amounts of mistakes in my life, and dealing with COVID, I don't think I did it perfectly. But I think we're all getting used to this, and maybe, I don't know, I don't want to say cut some slack, but like, we're all humans at the end of the day.
And that's what the whole part of being reopened and having people be able to come through and see you again is the human part of it. It's that human interaction. It's having people come through and be able to see you and not be able to touch you, but be around you. That's
Right.
got to feel good. That back again, right?
It feels amazing. Like just hearing the laughter in a restaurant, or even my own experience. My wife and I went out to dine at Livestock on Monday, and Livestock had a good amount of people in there for a Monday, especially. And it was just nice to see people at a dinner table having a good time. And that I honestly didn't even look at the menu or really enjoy our experience, because my wife, who's our GM, we were just so enthralled with seeing another business being successful. It was a great moment for us to witness.
I think that's what it was for this first weekend opening up. I was like, I don't think people even cared what they were going to eat. It was just to touch base with everybody that they've seen for so long.
I made a conscious decision to go get a Blarney Burger in Murphy's. I wanted to put into my face when I knew that I could get back out, sit down, and have that experience. So no, I knew it. I was focused when I was going to my.
Yeah, I love Murphy's. And to be completely honest, since we brought up Murphy's, like, I can't imagine being in that situation, like having to shut down. It was either the day of, it must have been 2 days after St. Patrick's Day. I mean, that's a full year of buildup that the community has looked forward to for 32 years. That celebration has gone on, and just to have it ripped away, it's an amazing testament to his character as a business owner.
And that's the important thing, is everybody's going to continue to push forward. And that's what Hawaii needs, is more of these entrepreneurs with that do not give up, that don't die, that push forward spirit, because that's you're going to need that in the next 2 years, 3 years. You know what I mean? It's not going to be an easy road ahead.
Honestly, like, this is just my personal opinion. I don't look at this as a 2 or 3 year problem. I think this is going to be a minimum 5 to 10 year problem, or even a generational thing. Because if you think about it in terms of capital it takes to start a restaurant or any business, it is significant to develop that concept, create that menu, develop a rapport with your community, the server training, everything. It's not something that happens overnight. And it took us a long time to become successful at Square Barrels. And I honestly, if we go out of business in downtown, and I'm not saying this to toot my own horn, but is there going to be another Thomas Ray and Hideo Simon and another Cynthia Ray to go to 1001 Bishop Street and say, hey, that is a great location for a restaurant. We're going to build here and make our lives here. It's just not going to happen.
You're not wrong, and that's the thing. Your situation is important, but it's also not unique. There are so many other instances where people are putting their blood, sweat, and tears into these establishments, and they're just gonna disappear in the months to come. It's scary. It's terrifying, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, so tell us about.
Go ahead, Jason.
I'm saying, so if somebody listening out there wants to help out with the Be Vocal Support Local, where can they go?
They can go to any local business, participate in commerce at that local business, take a picture of whatever good or service that they purchased, and use the hashtag Be Vocal Support Local, or sorry, Be Vocal Hawaii, or hashtag Save Hawaii's Businesses. That's all you have to do. The shirt is just a marker, really. It's just there for people to see, like, hey, I'm a part of this movement. And it's a constant billboard to remind people to go out and support local businesses. That's all it is. It's not a requirement whatsoever.
Okay. It's really a mentality and a way of life. Like, we should have been doing this before COVID-19. We're doing it now. To continue to do it and to be vocal and support local, but now more than ever is when you need to do it. I think what we do need to address too is if people do want the shirt, Thomas, they can go online. We're still doing it on the signups online, right?
Yeah, so I started an Instagram, and then Jason, you were awesome to help me create that link to get the process started, because honestly, I've never done e-commerce before. And when we did the initial launch, I didn't know if it was going to be successful or not, to be completely honest. And it was. And so I had like well over 100 emails of shirt orders in my inbox. And so I would wake up at 5:30 in the morning for like the first 2 days, and I would just process shirt orders on an Excel spreadsheet by hand. And then I think you reached out later that afternoon. I was like, hey, I did this for you. And I was like, oh, this is obviously much better. And we just kept building upon that. But it was tedious for those first 2 days. I was like, wow, I'm not going to be able to keep up.
it's
But
kind of
yeah,
snowballed. There's been a lot of interest, and it's good to know that you have, people who have stepped forward and stepped in to help and gotten it and taken and kind of run with it, because there's a lot of people who want these shirts, and now you can get it. So the Instagram account where people can go to follow the movement, and I'm sure the link is there for the shirts. How do they find them on Instagram?
just search Be Vocal Hawaii under accounts, and then we pop right up. And then
All right.
we're at like 120 followers. I need to build that up a little bit more.
Gotta grow that. Gotta grow that. Now, one more question before we kind of wrap this up. I wanted to touch on how you were saying earlier that this is maybe not to you just a temporary thing or even a couple of years thing. This is a long-term thing, even a generational thing. This is a Two Hawaii Dads podcast, and part of it is you are a dad. So that's what I want to ask about here is, what do you think this is going to do? Not do to your kids, but what kind of effects do you think this will have on the way that your children grow up? If start off by telling us how old your kids are and all that, but what do you think it's going to do to them?
So I have a daughter. She's almost 5. She turns 5 in July, and then my baby boy just turned a year on May 5th. So he's a Cinco de Mayo baby. Yeah, I was waiting for that one. So another reason why I did this is for our children. And the statistics aren't pretty of what we have to face in the future. If you can imagine, some are saying 85% of restaurants closing down, and then 43% of breweries. And that's just the area of our economy that I'm familiar with. But what about other areas of our economy? It's not gonna be good. But if you can imagine this city with 85% or even 70% on low estimates of independent restaurants gone, those shuttered businesses are going to turn into blight. And we have blight in our city currently, just a couple months since the crisis started. So blight has a very negative psychological effect on the way we interact as people. When you walk through a neighborhood where there's tons of blight, you're often going to see homelessness. And then with homelessness, it can have like open air drug use. And I've seen it in downtown, right? So you're not going to walk your children on those streets, right? You're going to try to find better neighborhoods for your kids if blight does occur. But the problem with this crisis is it's ubiquitous. It's everywhere. And it's not just going to be one neighborhood that suffers. It's not going to be Waikiki that suffers. It's not going to be downtown or Makiki. We're all have a long road ahead of us. And if all those businesses shutter, that's going to be blight all over our city. That's going to take a long time to get fixed. And that's another reason why consumers need to choose a local independent business, because you are investing in the people that will continue to invest in your community. The large corporate chains, they're going to take money out of this community and eventually funnel it out of this state. Whereas me, as a small independent business owner, I'm going to build another restaurant. I'm going to send my kids to school here and pay taxes here and live here and invest in a house here and stay here. And that's the main reason.
Well, I know earlier you said you were not trying to be political, but that sounded like a good community, fire me up kind of thing right there. I mean, that was pretty good. That was like a good dad talking right there. That was a good dad talk.
That was a good dad talk. That was a good dad.
Yeah, that was like we're like, son, we're gonna sit down and dad's gonna be straight. Dad's not gonna sugarcoat it. This is what it's gonna be, and I'm gonna let you know how it is, straight up. That's what that sounded like. That
since the crisis happened in our community in downtown, particularly Union Mall and Court Street Mall, they were the only people on the street were large gatherings of homelessness. And that to me was very concerning, because my wife, who still works at Square Barrels, obviously, she couldn't go to Walmart for whatever we needed for the restaurant. Not that we're buying our food from Walmart, but if she needed stationery or something like that, she could not make that two block walk. And that's upsetting when you can't walk.
I agree. Yep.
2 blocks away from your business. It's terrible.
Are the kiddos big enough to come down to work and hang out at work with dad?
Yeah, so my daughter spent a significant amount of time in the restaurant. So we would play hockey. We'd take some brooms, and then we'd use a dice as a puck, and then we'd fling the dice across. Because you're this is the dining room now. We got a table over here, and then it's empty over there. But all the tables were stacked up on top of each other. So she was going crazy, and she had room to just run around back and forth. And she would go behind the bar and make pretend cocktails with the soda gun. And yeah, she's definitely an industry kid.
Yeah.
Did you get to spend a lot of time at work with Dad pre-COVID? Or was that like a kind of prime opportunity for her to come in and spend some time at work with you for the last couple of years?
A little bit, but definitely she learned her ways through COVID, and she would bring to-go food to the customers too. They'd be waiting out front. It was a good experience, a really good experience.
Nice.
In a few more years, the little one will be put to work as well. So you'll have 2 more laundries on the floor for you.
Very low pay too.
Thomas, one more question from me before you go. Explain to me the name of the restaurant, Square Barrels. How does that work?
So my business partner came up with that name, and basically there's a funny story to it. There was a ship captain, and he deduced that he could fit more cargo in a square barrel as opposed to a round barrel, right? And so he spent all this time making these square barrels to load with cargo and put on a ship. And then he had a cart, and he brought all the square barrels down to the ship, and he had all this cargo. And when it was time to set sail to go to the next destination, he didn't have the technology to get the cargo from the pier to the ship. So it was one giant catastrophe, which is the ethos of our restaurant. We're just a mess.
Catastrophe. That's
yeah. The captain must have been Portuguese.
Yeah, maybe.
So Square Barrels is downtown. Heiho House is coming up, though, in Kaimuki, and I promise this is the last question. When that opens, people are going to be able to find you guys where up there in Kaimuki? Because I know you're not ready to open just yet, but we're fingers crossed it's going to be soon, right?
So this is a good time to plug our first tasting dinner. So we're still waiting on our plans to be finished. Thank you. And hopefully soon the GPP approves those plans, but we have an executive chef, we have a bar manager, and our first course tasting is going to be on June 28th, and we're going to do a pop-up at Square Barrels. So if you want to check out the food and want to see what we're trying to achieve, that would be a fantastic opportunity. It is going to be a little pricier because it is the first thing. We're just going to hit you with the whole shebang. So cocktail pairings, wine pairings, beer pairings, you're not going to leave hungry or sober. You're gonna definitely have a nice buzz at the end of it. But yeah, in Kaimuki, it'll be on 11th Avenue. It's the old Ichiriki location.
Okay, I was gonna say, for people that are still waiting, because I know there's a buzz about it. People know that it's coming, and it's just a matter of getting the permits going, getting construction finished, and getting open. With everything the way that it's looking right now, and we're here in June, can we expect a 2020 opening?
Oh, it'll be 2020. Yeah, it'll be 2020. Okay. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that it'll be July. It'll be July.
Woo!
But
Sooner
we were supposed to open in April, so.
And that's what I was worried about. Is like, he's right in the midst of all the coronavirus stuff, and it's like, what happens now if everything gets pushed back, and then all of a sudden it's Halloween, and they're still telling you, oh, we're working on the paperwork. It's like,
it doesn't matter. Like, once again, like, we've committed to getting this project done, and it was a 3-year project. We began talking about this. I surfed Japan. Yeah, I've been to Japan 3 times. Absolutely loved it. My surfing experience there was amazing. It was one of the best surfing experiences of my life. Every time I travel, I try to surf that country if I can. And we're gonna do it. Come hell or high water, come COVID or no COVID. Like, I'm gonna build this bar and restaurant, hands down.
That is the winner's attitude right there.
Dude,
the owner at Square Barrels and Heiho House up there in Kaimuki. Thomas, thank you so much for taking the time in the midst of, I know you're saying it's not too busy, but it is a busy time for you at this time of day over there at Square Barrels. We truly appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Thanks, brother. You too.
All righty.
Awesome.
That's going to do it. Aloha.